The dominoes have started to fall, and you know what happens when one domino falls. They all start to fall. Blake Snell is going to be a Dodger. We've got that story, plus its ramifications on the Rangers and their off-season pursuits. It's all coming up. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. How about that? A couple of $180+ million men, as of course Jacob deGrom signed a deal like that a few years ago with the Rangers. Now Blake Snell signs a deal, or I guess he hasn't signed it yet, but he's agreed to terms with the Los Angeles Dodgers, $182 million for 5 years. Welcome into the DLLS Sports Studios. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. Me and J-Dub here in the studio today, but we have Abs joining us from home in Alabama. There she is. You're on, Abs. You see us? You hear us?
She's frozen.
She's frozen.
Guarantee it's not freezing in Alabama.
So we'll work on connecting with Abs. But look, that deal broke last night. And again, for a guy like Blake Snell, I don't think he signed until March 19th last year. And he ended up taking really a deal that seemed, even at the time, less than what he could have made, but it is what the market would bear last year. But he signed with the Giants last year, 2 years with an opt-out this year, which he obviously exercised, for $62 million. That's $31 a year. Now he gets 5 years at $37 a year, Jeff.
Yeah, he was one of the Boris four, one of the last big four agents to sign. And, the market was so weird last year with Ohtani and Yamamoto. And here you have this two-time and the reigning Cy Young winner who was just sitting out there kind of rotting away, and along with Jordan Montgomery, who was part of that Boris group. And, Snell signed. I remember I was at Booties and Surprise, and when it came up on the screen, and we were like, all right, now the dominoes, Jordan Montgomery's got to be next.
Yeah.
All that stuff. And they were. But, yeah, it was incredibly late. Snell, like Montgomery, struggled initially when the season started, but then, unlike Montgomery, Snell was fantastic in the second half. So, the Dodgers now, the rich get richer. They found a way to defer some more money, and now maybe the market is set for Corbin Burns. Probably not Nathan Eovaldi. He's not going to get that kind of money, but
Fried.
No, never. No, yeah,
Fried
will
get some big money. Yes, there's
Thanks.
Jeff Kavanaugh of our Cowboy Show wishing all of you a happy Thanksgiving. And we appreciate them, and we appreciate you. We appreciate the prophet over there who, once again, is enjoying some Thanksgiving food that's leftover. You know how leftovers are. They're fantastic leftovers from yesterday. We appreciate BC being in the chat already. Not surprisingly,
yeah,
BC had about 10
big night for DC.
Posts already because he is giddy that the rich are getting richer with regard to the Los Angeles Dodgers signing Blake Snell. How's Ab now, the prophet? Is she good? We got Abby? All right, here she comes. That's good.
Abby.
And we'll get Abby into the program here as she's no doubt helping prepare all things for Thanksgiving at the house tomorrow. And we are just ready to talk this Snell thing through there. Oh, Ab's not there yet? Okay, so let's keep going with this.
Yeah.
So there's deferred money.
Right.
Well, which is amazing that the Dodgers have talked another guy who could get anything he wanted into deferred money. So we say it's 5 years, $37 million, and that is it. But as far as the salary cap goes, they say the real-time, current-time value of it is 160 to 165. So essentially, Jeff, what will count against the cap is more like 32 or 33 million. That's a $5 million difference. That's significant.
It sure is. And you know, the Dodgers, like we were talking about earlier, John, and good for them, but they've found a loophole in the system. Now, I mean, they will still almost certainly exceed the luxury tax threshold with all the big contracts they have on their roster, but they're in a unique position with their TV deal, which pays them more than $300 million a year, and is going to for the next 14 years. They're just in a position that other teams aren't in. The playing field is not balanced. It's not an equal playing field, and it's never gonna be. But at this point, you know, the Pirates can't pull off a deal like this.
No,
you know, these small market teams are unable to do it. Teams that are in TV uncertainty, like the Rangers, probably aren't able to do it. So it basically, I think this will be addressed in the next CBA. I can't imagine that every owner is happy with this. But you know, I would think that the Players Association is thrilled with it.
Of course,
so but yeah, there's a little loophole. And why haven't other teams taken advantage of it? The Rangers did a little bit last year with David Robertson. He deferred some of his money, but man, you know, if you're not deferring money at this point, you're falling behind. It seems like.
Well, as a team, you are, and look, all of the financial analysts will tell you that's not a good idea, right? You want your money. You don't want them to keep your money. You want to, and we'll do better with it than whatever. I've always thought it was brilliant because we've seen way too many athletes. Now, certainly not that many in the 100 million era, but we've seen way too many athletes who, you know, lost all their money for various reasons, typically bad investments, typically bad advice from some of these people in their inner circle. And unfortunately, they wind up, you know, basically broke at the end of a long contract and at the end of making millions of dollars. So the reality is, I think it's great for these guys to have deferred money. I think it's wise. Not that under any circumstances, Blake Snell is going to go broke after a $185 million contract.
I mean, if he does, so
we got problems.
Yeah,
Houston, we got a problem.
He's got major problems.
Yeah,
Jeez Louise.
Yeah.
But it's you know, you do hear about guys. ESPN had that show, I don't know, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
When they talked about the guys who lost all their money, like Sean Salisbury, you
Yeah.
know, and
Yeah.
Kurt Schilling also had that bad investment in some kind of company that left him with significant losses. But yeah, you know, I think that Scott Boras clients get set up with financial advising and all of that stuff. But like, you know, the deferred money though, it's like Bobby Bonilla, you know, still on July 1st, the Mets are paying him $1 million every year.
It's amazing.
And it's still going on. And, you know, how would you like to be him on July 1st?
Right.
You know?
Yeah. As most everybody in the chat and anybody who's listening or viewing knows, it's hard to find $1 million a year jobs out there.
It is.
Yeah.
It
is. Those don't grow on trees.
Ours is close, John.
Yeah. Thankfully, we're close. But yeah, but it doesn't all come on July 1st, you know.
No,
so
maybe July 1st of 2050.
Yeah, exactly. It's about the time. Yeah. It's about the time. So, it's very interesting. You mentioned it. It's a $334 million contract that the Dodgers have, and unlike how Bally was able to, you know, figure out some ways, there were some loopholes for them to get out of the contract they had with the Rangers. Mind you, they were supposed to pay the Rangers $110 million through the 2031 season. Right now, the Dodgers have a deal with Time Warner, and it is lock solid. The Time Warner people can't get out of it, and it's $334 million a year until 2034. So, or 2038, I think is what the skipper told us. 14 more years.
Yeah.
2038, they're getting that $334 million. So, man, that is a huge. That's even more than the Yankees get from Yes, which is the #1 TV market in the country. But the Dodgers were able to work this deal in part because Time Warner was in they were basically, in a battle with, at the time, Fox Sports West. They were trying to get the deal too. So Time Warner went crazy, outbid him, gave him, basically a no trade clause and a guaranteed contract.
Yeah, that's great work by the Dodgers. And of course, LA's the second largest market.
It's not
in
much
the country. But there is competition, I guess, a little bit down south there with Anaheim, territory and everything. I don't know how it's split up, but it's just they're just set up for to do this every year.
Yeah, and you mentioned it briefly. So when the dominoes fall, eventually those dominoes get to a Nathan Eovaldi, right? Like, again, the next goal for all these teams that are looking right now, so many of they want a lefty stud. So it affects, Max Fried. It affects Garrett Crochet, or potentially
Trade-wise,
who would be a trade with the Chicago White Sox. There are dominoes that fall that way. But then, does the money increase slightly for a Nathan Eovaldi as other teams like, dang, we missed out on all those guys. We got to get somebody.
Sure, and maybe he does. Maybe guys in his situation do wait a little while longer and have patience and wait for the supply to shrink and the demand to go up. I think the Kikuchi deal with Anaheim 3 and 63 is probably affects things a lot more with Eovaldi and whoever else is out there in that same group. Maybe Jack Flaherty. I just think that I think the Rangers 3 and 63. The Rangers should absolutely do that. That if Eovaldi wants that,
$21 million, yes,
yeah, I mean,
21 a year.
I mean, if you can bump him to 23, even 25. I don't know about 25, maybe 25. Yeah, but anyway. I think that's kind of. I think yesterday's deal was a bigger
effect
deal.
Yeah,
but
I'll tell you what, former Ranger free agent, this lefty thing may have an effect on is Andrew Heaney, right?
Sure,
as a lefty who's out there. It's like all these teams are looking for lefties. Okay, here's one. It may take his value up.
Yeah, and he's coming off a year in which he was very durable.
Yeah,
the win-loss record doesn't tell the story on how well he pitched. His ERA got blown up there on his last start at Anaheim where he gave up a bunch of runs. But this guy's in a good situation because he's
no doubt.
He's probably a little younger or the same age as Snell. Now, obviously, he doesn't have 2 Cy Youngs and overpowering wipe out stuff, but nevertheless, like you said, as these lefty starters come off the board, he's going to start looking a lot more rosy for teams that think they have to have a lefty.
Yep, no doubt about it. So, like we say, these are all dominoes falling, and we're certainly going to keep you posted on how it might affect the Rangers and how it might affect your favorite team as we continue throughout this offseason. When we come back on the program here, we're going to talk a lot more about the Rangers bullpen and how certain things that have happened recently and been revealed recently might have an effect on said bullpen and might have an effect on what the Rangers plan to do, especially at the back end of the bullpen for the start of next season. That's coming up, as well as our Now Batting. We're going to talk to the guy sitting over there in front of J-Dub, talk about the guy sitting in front of J-Dub. That's Jonah Heim. It's all coming up. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. So Abs would be so proud of me, and I hope we're going to get Abs in the next segment. Are we, Prophet? Yep, we're working. We're still working on it.
Her internet is out.
Abs, we might not get her today, but anyway, Abs would be so proud of me because I have utilized Game Time.
Not a attaboy.
I did. I took the dive. My wife had her birthday yesterday. She loves musical theater. Actually, so do I. We both love going to the plays. Well, Dear Evan Hansen is in town here, and just for like 3 nights, December, the 19th, 20th, 21st, something like that. Very short stay. And I'm like, oh, man, I got to get her tickets to this one. We've never seen that. We've seen many, many Broadway plays, a lot of them in New York. Anyway, online, through the Meyerson or through, the Windspear, they were like $588 for 2 tickets. I go to Game Time, $366 for 2 tickets. Got them. Snapped them up. Knew where they were because of that diagram. It's awesome. And if you do this, you get $20 off your first purchase. Use the code DLLS. Terms do apply, but Game Time is a cool app.
It is. And Shady Rays are a cool pair of sunglasses. If you haven't heard us talk about Shady Rays really since day one, since we launched, they're terrific, durable, and affordable sunglasses. And the best thing about it, and Jeff Kavanaugh was talking about this yesterday when he did the ad read while we were loading up our plates, they have a ridiculous like replacement policy, lost or broken. It's just insane. So you're spending not a ton of money. You're getting this code, DLLS code, for 35% off. It's what you need to do. So go to shadyrays.com, enter the code DLLS for 35% off polarized sunglasses.
So amazingly, as this offseason has transpired, and we've had a fair amount of guests, which has been fun, and we've had lots more to talk about than I think any of us expected, which is kind of cool. And I know it's great for you, and we love having you chat. And please chat along, like us, subscribe to us, especially since so many of you are probably off and not working today. So hang out with us. We'll be back Friday too. But in any event, I don't think we've talked yet, Jeff, about the revelation that kind of came out Friday night at the same time as the non-tender deadline hit, which was the Josh Sborz having, right? He's had the surgery.
Yeah, he had surgery on November 13th, which for those keeping score at home was my birthday. But
his 50th. Yeah.
It was there's Abby. She went outside. Oh, that looks lovely.
I had
how are you?
For
everything good?
The internet to work.
Okay. We're just talking about Josh Sborz and the debridement surgery he had on his shoulder. Obviously, you never want to have surgery. Pitchers would rather hurt their elbows and their shoulders, but what that surgery does is it goes in and it basically cleans up scar tissue from wear and tear. And then once you get in there, as a surgeon, if you see anything else, well, you can fix that too. Dr. Neil Elatrache, he's the Dodgers team doctor. He and Keith Meister, the Rangers doctors, are number 1 and number 2, depending on how you look at it in the field of baseball orthopedic surgery. It apparently was the best case. Apparently it was just a cleanup type of situation, a little more than a microscopic deal. He might get on your knee. That only cost you a few weeks. This is going to cost him, the first 3 months of the regular season, but it was good news amid some bad news. But, with Josh Sborz now officially on the shelf, it's like, gosh,
where do you go?
Where are you going to go? And Chris Young talked about it yesterday in the little Zoom call we had with him and Ross Fenstermaker. And the Rangers are always going to rely on young arms, and the Rangers were always going to get some more proven relievers this offseason. So they don't really have the need to go out and get another arm, though maybe they do. But, Josh Sborz potentially, let's say they were unable to sign a closer. Well, Josh Sborz, they might have said, hey, we remember Game 5 of the World Series. Why don't you go ahead and become our full-time closer?
Yeah.
He has the power stuff when he's right. But now this officially means, all right, the Rangers really need to get some veterans for the back end of the bullpen.
Yeah. So we'll do a lot more on that, Abs. It's great to have you. Your presence, even though you weren't here in the first segment, your presence was very much felt. In fact, this microphone smells like your hair, which is to say it smells like macaroni and cheese because we remember, our chatters remember yesterday, Abs is eating that mac and cheese, man, and it's flying everywhere. So anyway, we're so glad. What are you on? Are you on your cell service outside right now?
Yeah, hotspot, good old Alabama. Right at 12 o'clock, I called my dad and I was like, are you guys playing video games? Like, can we not both be on a Wi-Fi stream? But I don't know. Internet just went out, so I'm outside now. But it's like 65 here and sunny.
Yeah, it looks like a nice day in Alabama.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be like 80-something in Dallas. So I was like, okay. I'll take the weather.
Yeah, I dress for 60s.
Yeah, and now it's going to be in the 80s. Yeah.
But it is chilly in here again today. So.
Always chilly in here. Abby knows that. So Abs, talking about that process and with the free agents, rather with the bullpen now, and so you do wonder, Jeff, do they even consider? And maybe Ross or CY said it yesterday, but do they feel like, since they maybe miss as much as half of a season with Sborz, does that mean there's a need for one more arm in the bullpen in free agency?
Yeah. Geez, you would think yes. You would think they need 8 arms. I mean, if you want to go get right down to it, you want the best bullpen possible, right? Okay, so 8 obviously isn't practical with the Rangers where they are. If they're starting pitching innings, they're going to need guys like Dane Dunning who can work multiple innings to piggyback off of a starter or whatever the case may be. But you just what happened last year with Kirby Yates and David Robertson and Chris Young didn't need to be told this, but to have 2 guys like that at the back of your bullpen, only underwear. I mean, it just shows how important a bullpen is. And Chris Young knows this, as I've mentioned many, many times, because of the team he won the World Series with, the Royals. Greg Holland and I don't know if they had Wade Davis yet, but Wade Davis eventually came to the Royals. They had Heredia, who threw 100 miles an hour.
Yeah,
and in the World Series, they would go to the bullpen in the 5th inning, and they would do Heredia for 2 innings, and it was overpowering stuff at the time. So I just think that he knows what he needs to do. I asked if the Rangers, I didn't ask this yesterday, I've asked a couple of Rangers officials if, do you have the money to sign Eovaldi and Yates? And their answer was yes, if, we take the case to Ray Davis and say we need both of these guys. So we'll see what happens there, but there will be multiple veteran relievers signed by the Rangers this offseason.
Interesting. So, it's a very because it's such a very important position, right? And again, is it? They had a terrible results, terrible numbers in the bullpen throughout the 2023 season. But as bad as those numbers were, none of us forget that bullpen figured it out by the postseason.
Yeah. And they got hot at the right time, I guess, and it worked out unbelievably well. But really, with the Rangers during that postseason run, it was 2 guys. It was Leclerc and Sborz. They would sprinkle in Aroldis Chapman, but that was always a white knuckler. So, especially in the World Series, once he got to his 3 batters, he was done. And then even in Game 5, that's how Sborz got into the game, because Chapman put a couple guys on base in the 7th, and lo and behold, here comes Josh Sborz, and it worked out great. But gosh, we've mentioned it how many times they blew more saves than they converted that season. If the Rangers even convert 10 more saves, they might be the best team in the American League. They definitely win the West. So you kind of, you put yourself in a tough spot and end up working out. But that if you have a kick-ass bullpen with a rotation that's going to include DeGrom, you hope Eovaldi, Rocker, you hope Sasaki, all guys who wouldn't be pitching a ton of innings, aside from Eovaldi, you just need that bullpen. If your starter leaves and you're up 4-0, you got to win that game. That has to be a win. And so I think that Chris Young will recognize that and try to get him a couple, maybe even 3 guys that you can definitely lean on.
And Abs, that stately brick house that you're standing in front of is a testament to what a successful bullpen pitcher, right, and career can mean. But again, because of your dad, you realize more acutely than anyone, how mercurial, right, a bullpen career can be, but B, that how important it is.
Yeah, ebbs and flows, ups and downs for sure, but it's one of the positions that you've really got to lock in. It's nice when you know that you can count on that one starter, that one guy that's going to close out the game. Maybe, the way that the team isn't set up for just one guy. I mean, ideally Kirby Yates would be that guy, and that'd be great if that works out. But if not, I mean, you kind of got to pivot and come up with a game plan elsewise. But I think that one of the things that the Rangers do well is using the guys in the bullpen to, give those extra innings when needed. I mean, last year was a testament to that because so many starting pitchers were so unhealthy. You could hardly get 5 innings out of a guy. So, this bullpen, they're able to provide innings when it matters most. And, the guy that they signed, Carvello, I'm excited to see, what he brings. I think he's totally a high reward, low risk kind of guy. He has experience at the starter position. He can come out of the pen. He can give you meaningful innings. So those are going to be pivotal. I'm big on Jack Leiter coming out of the bullpen this season. Dane Dunning, saw that he, came up with a deal here and took a pay cut, I believe, which I think is a great sign for this team. And when guys are willing to just be on the roster no matter what it takes, we talked about guys like Cody Bradford that say, oh yeah, I'll pitch for the Texas Rangers at whatever position, they want to have me at. Such a great attitude, and it's a great thing to say. It's very, PC answer, but do they mean it? And are they really okay with it? I mean, those are two totally different things. I think that the Rangers do have a lot of guys that can fully say that. The only one, maybe John Gray. It's just, is he ready at this point in his career to make that transition from a starter to the pen?
Well, and Abby talked about the ebbs and flows, the ups and downs of a bullpen. Well, look at the playoffs this year. The two best bullpens were probably the Brewers and the Guardians.
Yep, absolutely.
And you saw what happened.
Yep.
Their closers were not good in the postseason.
Right.
And we've talked about Clase a lot, how good he was. He finished third in the Cy Young balloting. He was terrible in the postseason. Devin Williams for the Brewers, he gives up the big home run to Pete Alonso that knocks out the Brewers from the postseason. He's on the trading block, it sounds like, potentially. But it's not easy. You got to have a short memory, all that stuff. And that's why veterans handle it better. They just do. And, but yeah, there are no guarantees that your bullpen is going to be awesome if you have two or three great proven guys in the back end. But I would take my chances with them.
Yeah. And we were talking, actually, Mark McLemore was in earlier this week, and you brought up Arthur Rhodes, and he was telling the story about, Arthur then proposing that he would be a closer, and they asked Mac to come and run interference in case Arthur went crazy, and Mac couldn't even stop him. He tore apart the manager's office. He told me after the show, he said, Rhodes was afraid of being a closer because as good as his stuff was, he just didn't think he had the mentality. And so I think that's the case too, Abs, where you're talking about, is John Gray ready at this point in his career, or Dane Dunning ready, or Cody Bradford, right? The reality is you also have to know what your temperament is. And are you mentally, in your own mind, able to do that job?
Look, I talked to Jack Leiter when he was making his few starts, and, he got put in the pen for the last couple of games, and he kind of knew that was going to be the situation with Jacob deGrom coming back, Kumar Rocker. They were trying out Max Scherzer, the idea there. So it's like, I talked to him in depth about, what do you have to do to frame your mind to get ready for this? And he was like, me and my dad sat down and had a pretty long conversation about the opportunity that this is. And it's not like a negative thing that I'm pushed to the pen. And he's like, if I treat this right, serve this well, this could extend my career. This could get me set up. The things that I learn and hear could translate to being a starter. It is a totally different, setup that they have to do. But I think there's such an importance of being able to learn to operate from this. You got to be ready at the drop of a hat. You kind of got to be ready to come into any game scenario that you could walk into, and it really could help that player grow mentally, mature a little bit, be able to handle different situations, and stuff like that. So, I think it could be a good thing if young guys let it be a lesson and an opportunity.
Yeah. It's a great point, and it's a great perspective from Jack Leiter. Again, a great perspective from his dad, Al, who obviously would know, like, this isn't necessarily a bad thing. The Queen's heading out. The Queen says, happy Thanksgiving to you, Abby. But anyway, yeah, Jack Leiter knows it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not necessarily, it's like, hey, would you like to be in the major leagues? You might have to be in the bullpen. That's still a pretty good place to be. So we've got lots more coming up on the program as we continue along. We'll get to our Now Batting segment next. We'll talk about the Rangers catcher, Jonah Heim, and the things he needs to work on offensively. And we've got our cleanup segment coming up, too, where we'll say happy birthday to one of your favorite Texas Rangers. I know he's one of your favorites. So we'll do that coming up. It's all coming on the DLLS Rangers podcast.
I can say this about Abby. She loves our floors here.
Yeah, she does.
And
who doesn't?
Right. Empire today did our flooring for us. Look, we've talked about it. These guys are the pros. It's all they do is carpeting and hardwoods. They'd probably even throw in some linoleum for you. I don't know. But anyway, if you want the best, you go to the best, and Empire today is the best. That's all they do. No going to a big box store and buying a guy who, finding a guy helping you who just sold a bag of screws to somebody. So virtual in-floor designer, you can just hold it up and see what any floors would look like in any room in your house. They do their own warranties, but you're not have to worry about that because it's, hey, Empire's today. So schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 discount when they use the promo code DLLS. Restrictions apply. See EmpireToday.com DLLS for details.
So I'm super glad that the Rugged Road cooler is back here as kind of a table too. I really appreciate this Rugged Road cooler, and the quality of this product is unmatched. It really is. And I look at home. We're one of those families that's had 60 coolers, I swear, in our lives. So many different coolers, and they all break apart, and they all end up looking like crap. This one is beautiful. It's Rugged Road. It's light. It's sturdy. It floats. It's so durable. It's so versatile. It's got a little wall in the middle that's removable, but you can put this little wall in if you want, like the ice and the cold drinks over here, but the other side to stay cold, but not, potentially in melting ice water. It's a great cooler. We encourage you to get one or get your favorite person one for the holidays. RuggedRoad.com and use the code DLLS for 20% off. We appreciate Rugged
10%.
Road. 10% off. Thank you. We appreciate Rugged Road. Now batting, catcher, Jonah Heim. And look, Jonah, we've said it a million times, Jonah had some problems, some offensive problems at the plate this year. And we know, he knows, he knew it, and everybody knows it. And that's now something, Jeff, that needs to be solved.
It is because the Rangers tendered him a contract. He's too good defensively to not tender a contract, and it's going to be great value just because of the defense. As long as the automatic balls and strikes are not in Major League Baseball, catching, receiving, framing are a coveted skill, and Jonah didn't have the best year doing that this year. A lot of times, though, it turns out because they were telling him to set up over the middle of the plate for the young pitchers as opposed to guys who can hit their spots on the corners. Whatever. We're talking about the bat here, basically. And, he hit 220, 13 home runs, 602 OPS, a 72 OPS plus, which are well below league average. So, yeah, he needs to be better. And I think we've talked about this a lot. Was he tired? Might have been tired. The end of the 23 season, the playoffs, catchers need to get the rest, and he was catching so much. And then the Rangers didn't jumpstart him right away in spring training. They gave him a lot of time off. Did that affect him? So the key, I think, for Jonah is the offseason. Get his body rested and ready to go. Work with Donnie Ecker and Justin Veely if he's in town. Because Jonah lives, he's neighbors with you, basically. And go to the ballpark a lot, work on the swing. He's a better right-handed hitter. So I think, he's a switch hitter. He's better from the right side. I think
Interestingly, but he hit 9 of his 13 home runs came from the left side.
Yeah.
He's got more power from the left side.
Yeah. And probably more at bats, but I get what you're saying. So the Rangers are going to find a backup who will help maintain his workload. They want a guy who can hit right-handed pitchers. Not a lot of lefty hitting free agent catchers out there ever that are super good that you want.
Yeah.
So it's incumbent upon him to get better. Another argument though is he had his nice year in 23, set career highs in average and OPS, home runs, RBI, doubles, everything across the board. He was career high marks. But it's if 258 is your career high, if 18 homers is your career high, we're not talking about Johnny Bench or Pudge Rodriguez here. We're talking about a guy who is still developing and finding out who he is offensively. He's not a 30 homer guy, it appears. I mean, there's enough of a track record there to say, okay, this is who he is. Can he be better than his 228 career average? Well, for sure he can be.
Yeah.
And he needs to be. The Rangers would be thrilled with a season comparable to 23. And we'll see what happens, but this is a huge offseason for Jonah Heim.
I agree. Well, God was on my side because just so happened to print out my stat sheet today. Never really used the printer for a show, but I did today. So I took a look at some numbers, and it's pretty interesting. We know that Jonah Heim did not have a good season, but why? And can you put it into numbers, make it make sense? I wanted to look at 2024 versus 2023. And to Jeff's point, that is what he did in 23 career high. I think with these guys, with Jonah, is there a big enough sample size yet that you can say this is who this guy is going to be for his career? I think those are important questions to ask. Sorry, I feel like Beasley. I'm trying to figure this I'll give Beasley some credit. That's a little more difficult than it seems.
I was going to say, all of a sudden you look like bees. Yeah.
Here's the main thing with Jonah Heim, though. His chase rate everywhere, all over the zone, is up exponentially. I mean, from some points, he's chasing like 34% to 70%. And, you can take a look around. Like he wasn't plate discipline. He had zero plate discipline this season. And I'm unsure as to why that happened, because last season, he was hitting his spots. I mean, and he's a switch hitter. So, he has different things that work for, lefty versus righty, but like he was pretty good at his spots this season. He was cold where he was hot last year. So the framing of that's just kind of interesting to take a look at, but it's like, I don't know. You just take a look and he's swinging at everything that's not a strike. And, the strikes he's just missing. So it's like, what about him changed to play into that lack of plate discipline there? So offensively, that's what really stuck out to me. And if you're a pitcher, I mean, you just have to know, hey, I can get this guy out not even throwing strikes. All I have to do is, throw up in the zone here or whatever, because he's chasing, 60% of the time down and in or whatever it may be. Like he's really pretty high everywhere outside of the zone. So that's offensively the struggles. Defensively, though, I wanted to dive into that because we knew what he was capable of last year. He had a great season. Took a look into his caught stealing because I thought it was pretty interesting. So the average percentage of caught stealing for MLB catcher is like 18 to 23%. Will Smith led the league with 33% for the Dodgers. Great catcher. Jonah Heim was second to last with 12% of a caught stealing rate. And, he's 65th out of 65 catchers in MLB to be, successful with that. So that was one thing that really stood out. And then you compare that to last year, he had a 29% caught stealing rate. So it's almost double, but then kind of looked into that. And 58 guys tried to steal a base on Jonah last year. He caught 24 stealing. This season, 98 guys. That's double. So I don't know. The word got out around the league that, hey, you can run on this guy, or maybe that plays into pitching a little bit. But a lot more people ran on him. He only caught 14 of them, so that caught stealing rate's down significantly. But that's a pretty alarming stat that he had almost 100 guys try to run on him this season. That was the thing that really stuck out to me. And that, that's a huge career high for him as well. His career high previously was 58. So, I mean, it's not even like, it's been 70 or 80 guys to try to do that. That was one thing this season that was really, really, really different.
And did you say how many he caught of those 98? How many did he catch stealing, Abs?
14.
14, yeah.
14. So 12%.
No, the catcher's not solely responsible.
There's a lot
for
to that.
stolen
Yeah,
base.
There are a lot of variables.
If pitchers are slow home, but to your point, if he's not throwing well and you have the slow pitcher to the plate, then teams are gonna take their chances. And so yeah, I mean, it was just a down year. The framing numbers weren't as good. Abby pointed out the throwing numbers not being as good. So and it was Jonah who, you could say, had the play of the playoffs last year when he threw out Gunnar Henderson in game one of the division series. So
yeah,
interesting
and so
stuff.
What it does is it begs the question, and we've had this discussion, Jeff, off air. It begs the question, what could they possibly do? Because they need to get him, under any circumstances, more relief, right? They don't want him catching 110 games. They don't want him starting 121 games in the season, playing 131. It's just too much in this day and age for a catcher. And when we've looked at the list of free agent catchers out there, and again, anybody they're bringing in is to be a backup to Jonah Heim, but the list isn't that stout, right? And so where do you go?
I don't know. Okay, so you have Sam Huff, who's on the 40-man roster. He's out of minor league options. It's make or break, basically, for Sam. And the Rangers weren't thrilled with the season he had last year. Okay, so it seems like, they're going to go outside and get a veteran. Well, okay, Carson Kelly. All right, Carson Kelly would be great. He enjoyed it here, but he's a first-time free agent in a at a position where there's not a lot of great help out there. So he's probably going to get too much money. You're going to have to kind of get a guy. I don't want to say off the bargain rack.
Right.
Is Einar Diaz a guy like that? A really good defensive catcher who came from Colorado. So, do you do the math and take away the altitude and see what offensive numbers he has? Is he really an all-star caliber player like he was 2 years ago or in 23? So I don't know. It's, I've brought up the name Brian McCann.
Mm-hmm.
Not Brian. James McCann. Brian's the old Braves catcher. James is Abby knows.
Yeah, former Tigers.
So there's something there. Maybe, a veteran guy who knows what he can do, has a little pop in his bat. So I don't know, but his market's going to be pretty robust too. It's definitely a predicament, and the Rangers need to figure it out because they, for Jonah Heim to be his best, he can't catch as much as he has the last two seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True. Okay, so more coming. It's our batting cleanup segment, and we've got lots to talk about. There's the Soto saga that continues. A happy birthday greeting to one of your favorite Rangers and more. It's coming up on the DLLS Rangers podcast. But first, I want to get all these details right for you on the Die Hard deal. It's coming up, and we want you to take advantage of 30% off. Now, if you're going to get 30% off, you have to use the code Black Friday -diehard. It's all caps. Black Friday -diehard. And this is a Black Friday Cyber Monday, and the official days of this deal are November the 29th through December the 2nd. And you, believe this or not, you can get 30% off of your items, but you can also get the sale that's there. So you could get up to 75% off of items that you buy in the merchandise store. Jeff's going to say a lot more about the merch in a second. But Black Friday 2024, man, on Black Friday through Cyber Monday, avail yourself to becoming a diehard. I don't know that it'll ever get cheaper than that, especially when you factor in the free shirt you're still going to get for that deal. So that's our deal. We want you to be a part of it. Black Friday -diehard.
Yeah, John was talking about the merch. I have on my TCU shirt underneath for the TCU show that's coming up at 2:30. While we were waiting to go live today, I purchased 3 more things from our store. I purchased the last of the Rangers baseball shirts I don't have, the one that says Die Hard across the top.
Yep, I've got that one.
I did get a hoodie, a black hoodie.
Oh, did you get it? Yeah.
Yeah. And I went ahead and got the new TCU shirt.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So go to store.allcitynetwork.com, get merch, wear it proudly, advertise for us. But these are quality items, and we probably have some Black Friday, Cyber Monday stuff coming up on that too. So anyway, store.allcitynetwork.com.
We love our merch, and we love those of you who will, sit and watch the show with us and hang out and talk baseball. And we're glad to have all of you today on a holiday weekend. And it's the beginning, right? The early stages of a holiday weekend. We remind you, we'll be here Friday, too. So you see that even when you're off, hanging out, getting ready for Thanksgiving or enjoying your day after Thanksgiving, we're here giving you just handcrafted baseball opinions. We're working.
That's right.
Well, and the truth is, it's hard to call it work. We're basically doing what we'd be doing anyway, which is talking sports with somebody, whoever was at the house or whatever. But actually, we like talking it with a bunch of people like you. So, thanks for joining us. Abs, same thing, right? You're always talking sports.
Oh, yeah. My brother's home as well. He's a hitting coach, so we're just having a lot of fun kind of talking about the offseason. I know you guys already talked about it, but Blake Snell last night, he posted it himself.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like,
that's a great point. Let's the prophet show that pic, because that's his Instagram, Abs.
I know, and he posted LA with like the eye emoji. So it's like in today's day and age, people do like soft launch and hard launch on like dating. So it's like a surprise to keep, the world from seeing who your significant other is. He hard launched the Dodgers as his baseball, like that's kind of wild. And I was just kind of asking Dad, I'm like, that's got to be a new thing. Like, players didn't announce it before the team ever,
Right. And all you millennials or whatever we call you these days are so good at all that stuff. I remember when in TV we would have a trade happen, and we had figured out the technology of how we could take his headshot picture and put the new hat of the new team. Like, we were like, we can put a Rangers hat on him. That's so cool. Blake Snell just goes in there and puts himself in a whole Dodgers uniform. I saw online he did all that himself. Like, not like he has a graphic artist working with him.
Yeah, he just did a little jersey swap. But it's easy these days, You can Photoshop. AI can Photoshop anything. But it just was kind of crazy. Like, he kind of soft launched and then hard launched his own 5-year, $185 million contract. So
yeah, needless to say, our happiest chat person today is BC, as we said earlier, the rich get richer.
What point are the Dodgers done?
Yeah, and again, deferred money, so they keep finding guys that are willing to do that, and it's an embarrassment of riches.
No, it's going to be somebody else's problem one day. So Monopoly was my favorite game growing up, and I used to like call myself the Rockefeller, try to get all the Broadways and everything. And you get the whole block, you start putting houses down. I mean, once you pass that go to jail, like, you're getting your rent due. And it's like, that's what the Dodgers are doing at this point. At what point are they just done? I mean, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. I got too bored with Monopoly. Of course, I was never the guy that had all the hotels. Wasn't real good with my money, I guess. But I will say this: that is very interesting. And Abs, we were saying prior to you joining, the Dodgers have $334 million in TV rights, local TV rights from Time Warner every year between now and 2038, and it's lock solid. Time Warner can't get out of that contract. That's more than anybody has. It's more than the Yankees have. And so consequently, to answer your question, where does it stop? Nowhere. There is no stop for them.
Well, they're going to get Soto next.
I mean, yeah, exactly.
silly at this
They
point.
can still get Juan Soto.
Yeah, why not? And let's talk about that, Abs. I know you've stayed up on the saga too. I did see several notes and reports today that with regard to Soto, the Yankees obviously have other needs like every team does, but their total focus, their total concentration right now is Soto. And now industry insiders and everybody are really suggesting it looks like this will actually get done prior to the winter meetings. We've talked about that would be possible before. Now there are some sources out there saying that will happen. Do you have more on Soto?
I was listening to MLB Network, and they were kind of saying before winter meetings for sure, but just recently the Red Sox are increasingly seen as a legitimate contender. But it's funny, I was kind of talking to my brother. It feels like whatever is your Twitter feed algorithm, because he was like, oh, I think the Mets, and somebody else will say, oh, I think the Yankees, and it's just kind of funny how the media is presented to you, because it's all just hearsay. But I still think the Yankees.
Yeah. Look, I saw that too about the Red Sox. Like the Red Sox have sweetened the offer or something like that, but we don't know by how. I mean, look, I know every team is going to try to pull out all the stops. And I think the point at which you start sweetening the pot, to me, is the point that you start to think, oh, okay, he's not that interested in us. Let's throw one more bouquet his way, right?
Yeah. I wonder though how these things work. Is Scott Boras? How is he going to get more money out of these teams? I would guess, and he did this with Anthony Rendon. Had his you guys might get to experience this year at the winter meetings. He holds court.
Yep.
On one of the days, and everybody surrounds him and listens to him talk. And at that point, he said, Anthony Rendon's going to get a 7-year deal, and a lot of teams are only in at 6, and so that's one way he manages to get the word out to other teams if he's not telling them that directly. So his phone's going to be busy. He's going to be pumping as much money out of these clubs as possible, and they're going to one of them's going to do it.
Yeah. No doubt. Eventually, it's going to happen for somebody. There's no doubt. Another note in our batting cleanup segment, the Philadelphia Phillies have donated $1 million to a group called Amplify Clearwater. Now, the Phillies have called Clearwater their home since 1947, and it is a spectacular place to go for a Grapefruit League game. Now, sadly, I have not been back since the Rangers left the Port Charlotte facility there in the early 2000s. In 2004, they built a new stadium, new spring training facility. Have you been to the newer one for the Phillies in Clearwater, Jeff?
I have not.
No, but it sounds like it's a palace. Like they say, it's one of those things a Phillies fan must have on their bucket list to walk along the beach in the morning, go to a game, and in Clearwater, Grapefruit League game, and then go get a grouper sandwich and a beer for dinner, which I'm all for. But that's a nice thing, Abs, and these spring training places down there in Florida really need it.
Oh yeah, but I think a Philly cheesesteak would be on the menu.
Yeah, it's a good point. They can't make them in Florida. I don't know why. They can't make them in Texas either. I eat them still.
Yeah,
but they can't make them. It's nothing like Philadelphia. You can't. It's like the New York bagel, right? You can't make a New York bagel in any other city. Yeah, you can make a bagel, but not a New York bagel. Same with the Philly cheesesteak. I don't know. Maybe it's the cheese whiz they use up there. It ain't real cheese, but by God, it's good. Man, it is fantastic. So that's a nice story. And the happy birthday we've been talking about, Abs, is the great Pudge Rodriguez. 53 years old today.
These guys all get a little bit older like the rest of us. So,
right.
But he's still Pudge.
Yeah.
He's still a stocky little fella, and I still bet he could throw out a lot more runners than Jonah Heim. How about that?
Oh, man. Threw it out there. Pudge is a friend, and I'm going to definitely work on getting him on the program as a guest one of these days, be it Zoom or ideally, he comes to town a lot. He's still got sort of a special assistant relationship with the Rangers. And so, if he's in town, we'll see if we can't maybe even bring him on into the studio because he's fun. Yeah, stories and he's a Hall of Famer, Abs.
Well, I've got a little something. This is his glove. I got a Pudge Rodriguez glove. My dad pulled this out from a storage. I wish my camera was a little less blurry, but
yeah, we got it.
Yeah. Stitch, and then where is it? MVP. Where's the MVP? MVP. Here.
Wow.
We've got I think he gave this to my dad in 2007.
Okay.
So little Pudge glove.
That's so cool. Yeah. Again, they were teammates, I know, and you've known the Rodriguez family forever and ever. And so, that's a really cool piece of memorabilia. I think one day we're going to have to do a remote in your dad's den and just start going through all the memorabilia in that thing.
Oh, he's got it all. You got any Pudge story? You want to hear a Pudge story?
Yeah.
We got a Pudge story.
Here we go.
Hey guys.
Hey, Todd.
Happy Thanksgiving. Hope everybody has a good day. Shout out to all the people that watch and tune in. Howsy. My Pudge story, great player. The one thing that is overlooked in Detroit was he was the first big sexy piece to sign with the Tigers in 05. And then that really helped, or 04, sorry. That really helped legitimize the Tigers as far as other free agents. And then Maglio Ordonez came, and then the final piece was Kenny Rogers. So, he gets all the credit for revitalizing that city, and kind of what Seager and Simeon did in Texas as well. So, but Pudge was what's really cool about. You guys can't really tell, but this glove is so small. This is one of the smallest catcher's mitts versions that Wilson makes. And I asked him if he would get me one. And this is one of his. It's not game used, but it's. I asked him if I could have a game used one that I threw into, and he said no. He gives those to his dad. So his dad got all of his game used stuff, but really how talented his hands were, and then in spring training drills, like his footwork, his on the ladder we'd have to do, and things like that, like agility stuff. Pudge's feet are like a ballerina. He's so athletic, and happy birthday to Pudge. So you guys have a great show and a great Thanksgiving, and thanks for letting me come on.
Awesome, thanks, Todd. Thanks. We love it when you pop on. That's fantastic. What great perspective. And I remember my Detroit family called me. Pudge had been here forever. And they called me and said, hey, man, what do you think about the Tigers signing Pudge? And I go, man, that's my favorite player on my favorite team. It was like I knew what the Detroiters had gotten and what they were in for. And there you go. He did that. He helped deliver that. That's a great perspective.
When he would get mad at me when I would throw the wrong pitch or I wouldn't execute the pitch, he'd throw it back to me as hard as he could, and it really hurt.
Yeah, he could have been a pitcher. He could throw 100.
And then he throw it right at your belt, right? So you have to move your hand one way or the other, and I always got thumbed. So thanks, Pudge. Have a great day.
That's awesome. That's great, Todd. Thanks for joining the chat yesterday too. That was fun. Abs. Are you able in this current internet conundrum to give us a Tony Tuesday, even though it's Wednesday, because he posted late?
Oh, I can search it. We're not back on the internet, but hotspot. We do what we can. All right, Tony Tuesday. Let's see. I thank God today, not because I've been so good or faithful, but it's because of his grace and his mercy over my life. Think of all the times that you've come through something that seemed impossible. It wasn't you, but God's grace. Recognize him today. Win your day. Tony Tuesday.
Fantastic. Look at the talent of Abby Jones, ladies and gentlemen. She's got her phone in one hand, her laptop somewhere else, and no internet, and she still handles it all with us. Abs, great to have you. We appreciate you fighting through all of that so much. Have a happy Thanksgiving with your family, and, yeah, tell them all thank you for sharing you with us, and you guys have a great day.
Thanks. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you Friday, Abs, and that is going to do it for us too. But we know there were a lot of you out there today, and we appreciate each and every one of you. The Prophet was letting us know along the way that lots of people were joining the show. Keep on joining. Join again on Friday. We'll give you even more details on those Black Friday specials, and we'll be hanging out with you and talking baseball every day except tomorrow throughout the offseason. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you Friday on another edition of the DLLS Rangers podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.